If you're happy and you're excited to be alive, just holler, honk, give a good shout. Let me first of all thank the team and the staff of Reverend Raphael Warnock for entrusting the Fellowship Bible Baptist Church with this responsibility today. We pray all of our preparations have been suitable and amenable to our gathering today. Fellowship, if you out there, holler back at me. Holler back at me. Awesome. We welcome all of our guests here today, all of the guest speakers, all of the media, all of our friends and family, and our fellow citizens from Warner Robins, from around Middle Georgia. Thank you for coming here today. My assignment is very simple, and that is to give a proper introduction to the focal person of today. He is a native of Savannah, Georgia. He's one of a native son of this state, born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. He holds 4 degrees between 2 different universities, Union Theological Seminary and Morehouse College. He is the senior pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia since 2005. From the political side, he has been active in politics for the last 6 or 7 years, since about 2013, being engaged in the expansion of Medicaid in the state of Georgia. He's chaired the New Georgia Project. He's also been integral in the expansion of the Affordable Care Act and the Voting Rights Act, just to name a few things that he has had involvement in the politics and policy of the state of Georgia. And he is here today running as candidate for the 2020 U.S. Senate special election here in Georgia. Let's give a good welcome to the Reverend Raphael Warnock. Hello, Warner Robins, Georgia. Listen. It's Sunday, and they placed the preacher behind a microphone. I'll try to not to keep you out here all afternoon, but thank you so very much for being here. We say all the time that elections have consequences. I have to tell you that after what we have seen over the last 4 years and the last several months, that feels like a gross understatement. As we approach 300,000 souls that have perished, our American sisters and brothers, much of that loss and devastation unnecessary. To say that elections have consequences feels like an understatement. We have learned tragically that elections are a matter of life and death. And so we must vote
this year like our lives depend on it, because they actually do. We have to vote for our neighbors, the folk we call essential workers, but we're not paying them an essential wage. We have to vote for our children and their future. We have to vote for access to affordable health care. We have to vote for the planet, because it's the only home we have to leave our children. Are you ready to win this election? I am an example and an iteration of the American dream. I'm one of 12 children in my family. Clearly, my folks, both of whom are preachers, read the Bible and took it rather seriously. Be fruitful and multiply. I'm number 11 out of 12. And the first college graduate in my family. I often say that I went to Morehouse College on a full faith scholarship. I didn't have enough money for the first semester, but with faith in God and confidence in myself, and buoyed by the love and support of a family that was short on money but long on love, I graduated from Morehouse College. I went on to get a master's degree, and then another master's degree, and then a PhD degree, and then 15 years ago I became the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, the spiritual home of Martin Luther King Jr. And now the boy who grew up in public housing is running for the United States Senate against the wealthiest member of Congress. Only in America is my story even possible. And so I'm running because I love this country, because I believe in my bones and in my gut and in my heart. I believe in the American story. And I believe in the American covenant, which is so urgent that we reclaim in this moment, e pluribus unum, out of many one. This grand and noble story of a people tied together not on the basis of race, not on the basis of ethnicity, not on the basis of nationality or religion, but on the basis of a grand idea that we are all children of God, and that of one blood God has made all nations to dwell upon the face of the earth. This grand idea that we are better when we stand together, that our destiny is inextricably tied, and what affects one directly affects all indirectly. And so we have to reclaim that American covenant. And I know this is a dark and difficult time, but here is the privilege that we have. We have in this election cycle one of those extraordinary American moments when a generation of Americans gets to rise up and reclaim the truth of that American creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident: that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in this moment in which there are folk who are trying to divide us, we have to stand together, because this is the thing that we understand. Folks who have no vision traffic in division. They do not know how to lead us, and so they're trying to divide us. But we have to stand together in this moment, because this pandemic has reminded us that we are as close together in our humanity as a cough. I am as close to you as a sneeze. I need you to be covered so that I can be protected. And so the urgency of this time has awakened us to this moment. We cannot sleep through this moment. We've got to awaken our souls and awaken our neighbors and tell them that although we did an amazing thing on November 3rd, our work has just begun. November 3rd, the rest of the country did not see Georgia coming, but we rose up and showed them that this is the new Georgia. This is Georgia rising. It is more inclusive. It is progressive. It is embracing the future. And starting tomorrow, December 14th, don't sleep too late. Wake them and shake them. Tell them it's time to vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does. And so when I think about the urgency of this moment, I think about my dad, a blessed memory. I had an older father. He was old school. My dad was born in 1917. He was a veteran who served during the World War II era. Let's hear it for our veterans. He was a veteran and a pastor and a small businessman. And he used to wake me up every morning, 7 days a week, often at dawn. And he would say, "Son, wake up, get dressed, put your shoes on." 7 days a week, during the school year and during the summer. Wake up, get dressed, put your shoes on. I wanted to just, lay around for a little while, watch some cartoons in my pajamas. He said, "Wake up, put some real clothes on, put your shoes on, and get ready." It was Saturday. I was 7 years old. I said, "Dad, get ready for what?" I think I stumped him. He said, I don't know. I'll figure that out later, but I know I got something for you to do. Just be ready for whatever it is. Now that's annoying when you're a little boy and when you're 10 and 12 and 13 years old. But I'm so glad that my dad poured into me that kind of work ethic. He was in the Army for just a little while, and I think he never got that. He never shook that out of his sensibilities, his sense that you get up, you stand up at attention, and you're ready to go. And so it was a little irritating when I was a youngster growing up, but I'm glad my daddy told me to get up, get dressed, put your shoes on, get ready. Because in this defining moment in America, I'm ready. I'm ready to be your next United States Senator from the great state of Georgia. Are you ready to win this election? So listen, you can tell what somebody will do when they're in office based on what they were doing before they even ran for office. Can I tell you what I've been doing? I have spent my whole life dedicated to service. My highest ambition is service, because I believe, based on my faith, that the way to find yourself is to give yourself over to something bigger than yourself. And so I've been blessed. And I just want to be a blessing to others. And so when Georgia refused to expand Medicaid in this state, leaving at that time 400,000 and now 500,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap, I went to the governor's office. I wasn't running for anything, I was running for you. And I said to the governor, I said, Mr. Governor, you must expand Medicaid. And I was preaching about it from my pulpit, because I preach every Sunday inspired by one who spent much of his earthly ministry healing the sick. It's Sunday, so you don't mind me reminding you that he healed the sick, even those with pre-existing conditions. That's what blind Bartimaeus had. He had a pre-existing condition. That's what the woman with the issue of blood had. She had. Don't encourage me, Reverend. That's what the 10 lepers had. They had pre-existing condition. And Jesus didn't leave them in the gap. He healed them. And he was inspired by the tradition that gave birth to him, that grand and noble tradition that gave birth to Isaiah and Jeremiah and Micah, the great prophets of the Judeo-Christian tradition. That's what shaped me. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, said Micah, and what does God require but that you do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with your God. And so I said, Mr. Governor, you must expand Medicaid. And I was holding a sign with a quote from Dr. King, said that of all the injustices, inequality in health care is the most shocking and the most inhumane. The Capitol Police showed up because we were having a sit-in. And I wasn't mad with the Capitol Police. They were there doing their job. And I was there doing my job. And so they said, if you don't clear the governor's office, Reverend, we're going to have to take you away. And so they took me away that day. I didn't mind. It seemed like a small price to pay when I considered that all of my neighbors, some 400,000 of them then, were in the Medicaid gap. And then in 2017, I went to the United States Capitol because they were giving a $2 trillion tax giveaway to the richest of the rich. If they were giving it to middle-class folk and ordinary folk and poor folk, I would have supported that, because it would be the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. When you give a tax break to poor people and middle-class people, you know, they buy extravagant things like coats for their children and food and baby diapers, and they stimulate a consumer economy. The right thing to do is often the smart thing to do. And so I went to the U.S. Capitol, and because I was not a United States Senator yet, I made my argument in the rotunda of the Capitol. And I began to say that a budget is not just a fiscal document, it's a moral document. Show me a nation's budget and I will show you that nation's values, who you think matters and who doesn't. And if this budget were an EKG, it would suggest that our beloved country has a heart problem and we have come to perform moral surgery. So the Capitol Police heard the preacher, and then we began to sing and pray. like Paul and Silas. And we weren't just Christian. We were Christian and Jewish and Hindu and Buddhist and Muslim. We were all there together because God is known by many names, worshiped in many houses. The Capitol Police came again. And they said, if we'll give you 3 warnings, and then if you don't move, I'm sorry, pastors, but we will have to arrest you. And what they didn't understand is that I had already been arrested. I'd already been arrested by this idea that we are tied together in a single garment of destiny, tied together. I'd already been arrested, my mind and my imagination captivated by this idea that we can do better than this. And so they took us away. I wasn't mad. The police, the Capitol Police, were there doing their job. And I was doing mine. Well, because of the movement that we are building all across this state, I've got a feeling that in a few weeks, I just might bump into those same Capitol Police officers. But this time, they will not be escorting me to central booking. They can help me find my new office as the next United States Senator from the great state of Georgia. So I can stand up in the halls of the most consequential deliberative body on the planet, standing up for ordinary people, translating my protest into public policy, my years of agitation into legislation. I can only do that if you stand up all across this state and tell your neighbors to vote and your friends to vote. Tell anybody who wants to date you that they can write their phone number on the back of their voter card, because I don't date people who don't vote. If you show up, we can do something extraordinary together. And so I've been fighting for health care because I believe it's a human right. I've yet to hear Kelly Loeffler say that health care is a human right. I wonder if you can get her to say that health care is a human right. She claims that she's rolled out a program she claims that covers people with pre-existing conditions. It's a junk health care plan. It has loopholes in it big enough to drive a truck through that allows the insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions, and we ought not just use that word like another political word. Who are we talking about when we say pre-existing conditions? Folks with diabetes. Raise your hand if you know anybody with diabetes. Hypertension. Raise your hand if you know anybody with hypertension. Raise your hand if you know anybody who's had a stroke. Raise your hand if you know anybody who's had a heart attack. Raise your hand if you know anybody with asthma, cancer, anybody who survived COVID. Look, that's who we're talking about when we say pre-existing conditions. She wants to represent the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies. I want to represent you. She wants to look out for billionaires like her. I'm thinking about the children who are growing up in communities like the one I grew up in all across this state. And so I'm not surprised that the other night, she tried to change the subject. That's why they're running these ads. They're trying to change the subject. I don't blame her. She's got a lot of explaining to do. She's been there 10 months. She's done a good job enriching herself. But you have not seen relief in several months. And when we were trying to pass a relief package, trying to give ordinary folk just $600 in extended unemployment insurance, people who lost their jobs due to no fault of their own, she said that she saw no need, and she said it was counterproductive. Counterproductive to give ordinary folk $600. I guess it was not counterproductive for her to dump millions of dollars of stock and profit off of a pandemic. And so they're playing games, cherry picking my sermons. And I've been preaching for years, copying and pasting, stringing a word from here, taking another word over there, cherry picking my sermons, lying on me and Jesus. Bearing false witness. I love, respect, and deeply appreciate the work that our veterans do. They stand up for the country. They do what they were sent to do. And too often when they come home, the country that they have stood by doesn't do a good enough job standing by them. We got 600,000 veterans in this state. Some of them receive their care in the Veterans Administration, some do not. And so when you leave people in the Medicaid gap, Georgia, by refusing to expand Medicaid, some of those people are veterans. When you don't cover people with pre-existing conditions, you leave all kinds of people exposed and vulnerable, sometimes the very folk who have stood up for the country. And so you show me who and what you love and what you value, not on the basis of what you say, but on the basis of what you do. So don't let them change the subject. Don't go for the okie doke. They're playing games. They're trying to divide us because they feel the movement that's growing in Georgia. I feel a blue tidal wave moving all throughout the state of Georgia. And so let's stand up in this defining moment in American history. We need affordable health care. We need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We need to make sure that folk we call essential workers are paid an essential wage. We need to extend Pell Grants so that our children, when they graduate from college, they're not so overloaded with debt that they have a mortgage before they have a mortgage. We need to invest in infrastructure all across this state. We need broadband in the rural areas of Georgia because you can't even farm as efficiently as you could without broadband. We need to invest in America. And we can do it. Can we do it? And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to all of you I'm grateful to our frontline workers. I'm grateful for our healthcare workers who risk their lives saving lives. I'm grateful for my mother. She's 82 years old, down in Savannah, Georgia. She grew up in Waycross, Georgia. Waycross, Georgia. Picking tobacco and cotton. But at 82 years of age, come tomorrow, the hands that used to pick tobacco and cotton get to pick her youngest son to be the next United States Senator from the great state of Georgia. Because we are the United States of America. And in this long journey of ours, we are always trying to extend and lengthen the cords of our democracy to include all of us. And so I'm ready for this moment. And I'm being inspired. I'm inspired by you, but I'm inspired also by the memory of my dad, who used to wake me up all those years ago. He used to wake me up at dawn. And the thing about waking up at dawn is that it's morning, but it's still dark. It's dark, but morning is on the way. And you put the preacher behind the mic on a Sunday, so I have to tell you that weeping endures for the night. Joy comes in the morning. Sometimes it's hard just to hold on till the morning. But keep holding on. I know you've lost loved ones and you've lost livelihoods. And this pandemic has been so cruel in so many ways that when we've lost loved ones, we haven't even been able to come together and weep. But hold on. Morning comes. You can't control what happens when the morning comes. Your job is just to get up, get dressed, put on your moral clothes, put your shoes on. Just be ready. Are you ready? Are you ready to stand up? Are you ready? I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm ready to fight for you. I'm ready to stand up and fight until everybody has access to health care. I'm ready to stand up until the minimum wage is a livable wage. I'm ready to stand up for seniors. I'm ready to stand up for students. I'm ready to stand up for the planet. I'm ready to stand up for Georgia. Are you ready? Put your clothes on. Put your shoes on. If we fight together, if we pray together, if we stay together, if we stand together, we will win the future together. God bless you.